made in this region. Officials say these drugs could have taken hundreds of thousands of lives. The CBC's Dawson Chen brings us that story.
It's being called the biggest seizure of fentanyl in provincial police history, and it happened in Windsor. OPP's Organized Crime Bureau has revealed that 46 kilograms of suspected fentanyl were found in 4 Windsor residences on September 25th. Detective Superintendent Pete Liptrot of OPP says it's enough of the drug to OD an entire metropolitan area.
The fentanyl seized was enough for approximately 460,000 street-level doses. That's an amount capable of taking lives of a moderate-sized city. You know, the information we have was that this fentanyl was being trafficked in the Windsor and surrounding area. There was no evidence that it was being exported anywhere. So we believe that this will have a significant impact on the community within the Windsor and surrounding area and increase public safety.
Project Rotherham was a year-long investigation involving multiple units of the OPP and Windsor Police. Along with the fentanyl, officers seized significant quantities of cocaine, heroin, and hydromorphone, plus oxycodone, morphine, benzos, and 2 loaded handguns. The total street value of the bust is estimated at $6.5 million. Police also found 181 kilos of caffeine, which OPP say is often used as a cutting agent to dilute street drugs. Lisa Valenti is the founder of House of Hope, a Windsor women's addiction recovery program. She hasn't heard of any local fentanyl drought, but she applauds the bust all the same.
I think it's fantastic because I think we were in a state of emergency yesterday, right? If people aren't having those drugs readily available, then they're more likely to go to withdrawal management. They're more likely to call our services. They're more likely to get into treatment. What I think is most important here is the message that's being sent, right?
The investigation began with police identifying 2 suspects in a drug trafficking network. A 25-year-old Windsor man and a 28-year-old Vancouver man are now facing a total of 56 charges. Superintendent Liptrot wouldn't say if more arrests are pending.
The investigation into the source of this fentanyl is still ongoing. There is an association to a known criminal organization here, but I'm unable to provide you with details on what that organization is to protect the integrity of the investigation.
As of November 12th, Liptrot said the 2 suspects remain in custody. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
A woman is dead and a man has been arrested in what Windsor police are calling a case of intimate partner violence. It's the city's 4th homicide this year. Police arrested 29-year-old Daniel Nathaniel Assing for first-degree murder. Authorities say it happened just after 3 a.m. Wednesday. Now, the arrest came about when officers noticed a car driving dangerously near Chatham Street East and Goyou Street in downtown Windsor. Police were arresting the man for stunt driving, and then they noticed a large amount of dried blood on his face and body, according to police. Further investigation led officers to a residence on Langlois Avenue. A woman was found there with multiple stab wounds and no vital signs. The victim was 26 years old. Well, the union that represents Windsor police officers says the number of them on patrol dropped to concerning levels recently. They're pushing for mandatory minimums to help ensure that doesn't happen again. There are roughly 500 sworn officers employed at Windsor Police right now. Nearly 300 of those are dedicated to frontline patrol, but that doesn't include people off on leave. But during one weekend shift last month, the union that represents those officers say the number of them on duty dropped to dangerously low levels. Windsor Police Association President Kent Rice says there were only 13 on one shift.
That puts people in jeopardy, puts people in harm's way. And when I say that, it means our response times, it means the community itself.
He admits he's not sure what that magic number would be, but says 13 is just too low. And Rice is pushing police administration and the board to institute mandatory minimums for frontline patrol. That may end up making policing costs higher, but Rice said safety is paramount. Both the Windsor Police Service and the board didn't respond to our request for a comment. However, during a special meeting of council this week, Police Board Chair Joanne Gignac had this to say about policing costs.
It's no surprise to you that, as I said, policing costs are getting uncontrollable. And what police are asked to do in municipalities, if there's a municipal police force, are way out of line.
Across Ontario, it's not common for police services to have mandatory minimums in place for frontline patrol. That's according to the Police Association of Ontario. President Mark Baxter says more associations, though, are asking for this model.
What we do see in police services where the police association is calling for minimum staffing levels, that is a result of the police association not having confidence that resources are being deployed appropriately by the chief of police.
2 hours up the 401 in London, police there have had mandatory frontline patrol minimums since at least 2001. That's when Sergeant Gareth Harris joined the force. He's also president of the London Police Association. Harris says there's a mandatory minimum of 42 frontline police officers on weekend day shifts and all night shifts.
I would suggest that at times it certainly has dropped below the minimum, and then it becomes the purview of the chief to try to decide how they are going to staff up to that minimum. It becomes a challenge and a safety issue for our members because we don't have enough frontline personnel working the road and responding to the calls for service, including emergency calls for service that come in on a daily basis.
There isn't any provincial standard when it comes to the number of officers required on frontline patrol in Ontario. The Ministry of the Solicitor General says local police services know how to best provide policing in each community. And for a quick peek at weather, Colette Kennedy is here with us. Colette, not a bad day today.
Not at all. Into the afternoon hours, pretty nice once we got all that sunshine coming on through into southwestern Ontario. And winds are right on the cusp into the double digits. Certainly some cooler readings, especially towards the nation's capital, but getting into the teens as you track westward. So we're just on the cusp of that warmer air moving in. There is activity to the east, but yes, we've had the drier conditions. And overnight tonight, we'll keep it that way, mostly clear, 1 degree for the low, 9 degrees with sunshine tomorrow. But just keeping in mind, one thing we have had have been the winds, and the winds still breezy tonight and into at least the first part of the day tomorrow.
All right, we'll check back in with you a little later in the show. Thanks, Colette.
Sure.
Well, there's been a lot of reaction online to some offensive comments made by the head of the Windsor Essex Pride Fest. The organization is now apologizing, but some say that's not enough. The CBC's Jacob Barker brings us the story.
I have no problem with transgender women in sports until you get to the elite divisions.
A comment Windsor Essex Pride Fest President Wendy Nicholson made on a morning talk show. It was part of a 12-minute interview prompted by reports the International Olympic Committee is considering a ban of transgender women in their sports.
You're hitting that puberty. You are not as good as what you thought. But then you look, hey, you know what? If I say my name is Sally and I'm transgender, I can go and I can beat the crap out of the girls.
Reaction was swift. Windsor Essex Pride Fest, who employs her, posted to social media stating shock and disappointment in what their president said, adding the comments do not reflect their values, beliefs, or position. Disappointing as well to Sky Matthews.
I played AAA hockey as a goaltender as a youth, and I went to a golf school in Florida, and I had aspirations to play professional in both of those.
Matthews says she transitioned later in life, but at the time, competing in male categories.
I struggled with gender dysphoria once my puberty started. It really hit, and eventually I ended up numbing myself through drugs and alcohol, and then eventually quitting sports altogether because of how binary it is and the gender segregation, and I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere.
At first, she thought Nicholson's comments were a joke. Now, knowing they were real, she says it's hurtful.
I didn't wake up and decide I'm going to lose my family, get rejected by coworkers, possibly lose my job, go through an incredible physical transformation, endure years of therapy, just so I can win an effing medal. It's quite ridiculous.
In a statement today, the Alliance for Trans Youth said Nicholson vilified trans athletes. They called on her to rebuke her statement and step down as president. Meanwhile, Trans Wellness Windsor Essex says it would like to see an apology from Nicholson and some introspection.
But I think I would really like to see her make that personal decision about, do I feel fit? Do I want to rise to the challenge, right? Or do I want to move out of the way and let someone else who can represent this community in a way that people are seeking and looking for and calling for to do so, right?
Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
For about 40 years, Toys R Us has been a go-to place for a variety of toys and games, but that's all about to end here in Windsor. This past weekend, signs went up at the store on Howard Avenue announcing the location will soon close. It's just the latest longtime retail brand to disappear from the city, following in the footsteps of the Bay, Sears, and Zellers.
It's another victim of changing consumer habits, people purchasing more things online. And especially after COVID, we have just leapfrogged into shopping more online, more than ever before. 20 years ago when I first started teaching, I would ask the class if anybody purchased anything online in the last 6 months. There would be a couple people that would put their hand up. 10 years ago, it would be about half the class. Now it's the entire class.
There's no official word on when the store will close for good. Well, the great Canadian flag along the riverfront is coming down for this season. It typically happens this time of year. Our video producer Mike Evans has more on this tradition.
Now today we're taking down the big flag. This is an annual tradition here in the city of Windsor. Does it always happen on the same day?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, we want to make sure that the great flag is up for the Remembrance Day ceremonies on November 11th every year. So we aim to take it down on November 12th. Again, that's always going to be weather permitting. If today happened to be a little bit more adverse conditions, we'd wait another day or two. But typically, you're going to see the large flag come down on November 12th with the winter flag going up now for the next, about 4 months.
4 men on this crew doing this, and they took a lot of care to make sure that that flag came down properly and that it didn't hurt anyone and that it didn't touch the ground. Talk about that.
The team, as you said, is extremely dedicated. There's our playground inspectors and our forestry staff are the ones who handle the changeover of the flag. They're very concerned about ensuring everything is done properly. They take great care not only for their own safety and well-being, which is first and foremost, ensuring also that the flag is handled properly. There are protocols that we deal with when we talk about removing the flag, ensuring it doesn't touch the ground, and how we maintain and store it, inspect it over the winter, and then again when it's reinstalled.
It's kind of undecided when the flag will come back out. What's that based off of?
So it's all based on weather. Once we sort of get to the end of February, we start looking at what the long-term 45-day trends are, and then we identify when we know there'll be an appropriate time where we're not expecting any more snow or sleet or high wind conditions. So typically, we're going to put the great Canadian flag back up right around the middle of March.
An iconic flag. It's very large. Do you inevitably get a lot of calls from Windsorites when the big flag comes down saying, what happened?
Yeah, certainly I think, it's been almost 10 years now. The flag initially went up in 2017. Most people are now used to that. There's a transition and we put again, relatively smaller flag up in the wintertime. But we do get some requests, I think, especially for people who are newer to Windsor, just wanting to know, understanding the process. We explain it to them, and then once they understand that, there are safety concerns with leaving the large flag up throughout the winter, that they understand, and they're excited always to see and hear that the flag will be going back up in the late winter, early spring. They love seeing it. It's definitely become one of the iconic features here in the city of Windsor, and is something that is visible not only throughout the city, but definitely very visible to our friends to the north on the other side of the river.
And in case you're wondering just how big the Great Canadian Flag is, it measures approximately 18 meters wide and 9 meters high. It's also substantial in mass, weighing 45 kilos or 100 pounds. And we should add a footnote to Jacob Barker's story. We did reach out to Wendy Nicholson, the president of the Windsor Essex Pride Fest, for a comment, but she did not respond to our requests for a comment. Well, a decade ago, we featured a story on David Frank. He was 91 and at the time, Home Depot's oldest employee working at the store here in Windsor on Division Road. Well, fast forward 10 years and David is still at it and shows no signs of hanging up his apron. He turned 101 today. Happy birthday, David. A live look outside at downtown Windsor on this cooler evening. Colette Kennedy is standing by live with our look ahead at our weather forecast heading into the weekend, and we'll have more news for you coming up right after the break. Stay with us. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he doesn't plan on changing his leadership style. His comments come after one of his MPs crossed the floor to the Liberals last week and another announced his upcoming resignation. Kate McKenna reports.
At Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's first news conference after 2 surprise caucus departures, he doubled down.
I'm very saddened for the Nova Scotia families on whom Mr. Carney and Mr. D'Entremont are raising the price of groceries and homes.
Last week, Alberta MP Matt Genereux announced plans to resign his seat. And Nova Scotia MP Chris D'Entremont crossed the floor to the Liberals, citing Poilievre's leadership as a reason why. But the Conservative leader says he doesn't plan on changing.
No, my plan is to continue to lead and be the only leader in the country that's fighting for an affordable Canada, where our people who work hard can afford a home and food.
He also accused the media of having a double standard.
It does not live up to its promise of generational investments.
After Liberal MP Nate Erskine-Smith gave the budget a mixed review.
I know you're camped outside his office right now, waiting to get comment from him. I know you've been chasing Mark Carney down hallways.
And he pointed repeatedly to these comments made by D'Entremont while he was still in the Conservative caucus.
We warned that Liberals, their out-of-control spending and massive deficits were irresponsible. But of course they didn't listen. And now, after 6 months under a new Prime Minister who promised financial discipline, Canadians are still waiting. He said he'd be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, Mr. Speaker, Canadians are judging him, and they are not impressed.
Whether this will be enough to stop questions about Poilievre's leadership remains an open question.
What Mr. Poilievre's thinking.
This pollster says Poilievre is popular with the Conservative base, but divisive with the Canadian population.
But one of the distinctive features of Mr. Poilievre is just how polarizing he is. There's a lot of Canadians who like him, and there are a lot of Canadians who don't. And it's almost entirely divided by whether you support the Conservative Party or not.
Chris D'Entremont responded to what Poilievre said in a statement, calling his comments spin and claiming it proves his point about Poilievre's leadership. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
Newly released documents are raising more questions about Donald Trump's friendship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The emails written by Epstein referencing the president were released. Katie Nicholson now on the reaction.
The House will be in order.
After a recess that stretched 54 days,
The chair lays before the House a communication.
the House is back in session to pass a measure to end the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. But House Democrats started the day with a bang, releasing 3 private emails from the more than 20,000 the Oversight Committee has obtained from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. All 3 mention Donald Trump. Among them, a 2011 email to Epstein's longtime partner, now convicted child sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein refers to Trump as having spent hours at my house with a sex trafficking victim. And a 2019 email exchange with journalist Michael Wolff in which Epstein wrote that Trump knew about the girls he asked Ghislaine to stop. At the time, Epstein was months away from federal charges of sex trafficking minors. Republicans accused the Democrats of cherry-picking the emails and released a deluge, 20,000 pages from the Epstein estate, all as the White House pushed back on the notion the emails point to impropriety.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein.
Donald Trump and Epstein had a well-documented friendship that started to sour over a real estate deal in 2004. There's no suggestion Trump was involved in any criminal wrongdoing in the emails, but their release comes just as Adelita Grihova was finally sworn in 7 weeks after she was elected. The Arizona representative tipped the balance on a discharge petition to force a House vote demanding the Department of Justice release its own Epstein files. Representatives are ready for a fight.
If you know that you are free and clear, then why not say, you know what, release the files?
Even so, there are questions whether any of the 4 House Republicans who supported releasing the files will change their minds after one of them took a meeting with the White House. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Time now for a live look at weather, and of course we go to Colette Kennedy for that. Colette, it was a pretty nice day today, and I know the next couple days we're supposed to see some sunshine, and I have to say it's kind of refreshing to have like cooler seasonal temps but full sun. It's a nice combination.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, I even find that in the, deep winter cold, if it's a sunny day, it's a completely different feel to it, right? When we get into January and February. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just talk about what we have in November. And this trough in the jet stream on the backside of the system that went through on the weekend, it's still providing those winds. You can see the strong current here in the upper atmosphere, but providing those winds even at the surface that have been driving through. So we get sun, and the temperatures are a little milder, but we still have some winds. And then in the west, they're talking about winds as well, but those winds coming in and Chinook winds and warming things up. So looking for some pretty warm temperatures there in southern Alberta, perhaps Lethbridge into the high teens or even 20 degrees tomorrow. We're currently at 8 degrees, 7 for Sarnia, Chatham-Kent, you folks at 7 as well. And there are the sustained winds. And then we pop on the wind gusts. There are still areas, including in Windsor, where the gusts are over 50 kilometers an hour. Now, in the lee of Lake Huron, that's driving in rain showers, lake effect showers, that will be changing over to a bit of a mix as the temperature falls tonight. But for us, we've been more in the clearer conditions, and so that's a nice setup going forward into tomorrow. Still a little breezy, though, tonight. Tomorrow during the morning and early afternoon hours, and then those winds really begin to ease and improve. And in fact, there's some improvement through the day tomorrow altogether, but I just mean they're really going to start dropping off as we get into the evening. So there's the radar showing you lots of active weather elsewhere, but we're not needing to deal with it here in southwest Ontario, back into Michigan, but there are those showers coming right across the lakes, and they get very defined through tomorrow as the winds will still be stronger there. They turn into a bit of a mix, and then things will finally be starting to dissipate there as well. But you see, we just keep a couple of days there going in with sunshine and then more sunshine. So it's looking good for Thursday. It's looking good for Friday as well. Temperature overnight tonight, we should slide to just above freezing, 1 degree, but then it's 9 degrees for tomorrow. Sunny skies, mostly sunny on Friday. 10 degrees after a low down to freezing, and check out the weekend, at least the first half of the weekend, 15 degrees, although we'll have some cloudy skies, quite a little warm up there.
15, wow, thanks Colette, we appreciate it. That's it for us here at CBC. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.